Hello.
So, Mr. Pacino, what?
This is warm-up time.
Guys, whenever you want. We're on.
Okay, we're just going to chat for a minute.
Yeah, so we haven't seen each other in how long?
About 6 months we've been finishing the film.
Finishing the movie.
Yeah, you actors get to finish.
You said that you had to go back and do some looping there, but you didn't have to go back and do shooting.
No, we got it all. We got it all up there. Which
See, sometimes with movies like this, on Memento, did you have to go back?
No, we couldn't. We couldn't afford to.
Couldn't afford to then.
Yeah. No, but I like trusting that moment. You know, when you're there and you're shooting.
Oh yes, yes.
The choices you make there.
Yes, yes.
Because nothing's ever completely perfect. So I think.
That's right.
I mean, to me, I've never done any, theatre, but I would imagine it's the same kind of thing where you trust that performance.
Right. That's right.
And to me, that's the shooting period.
That's
I trust that, and then I get in the edit suite with Dodie, and we sit there and we work it all out. And I think it's part of my job while I'm there on set, watching what you're doing to figure out whether we've covered all the bases.
That's right.
So
that's right. So coverage is important in making a movie.
Yeah, enormously.
Sometimes when you're on it, when you're doing it, when you're in the middle of it all, you forget that you want to get a thing moving, and you never know. But if you can get that angle, and you miss the angle. I remember when I was working with Francis, and he, we were doing this funeral scene, and it was over. The shooting day was over. We lost the light. Although there was some light left, but it was 6 o'clock. And in those days, the studio, those producers were right there, and they said, it's over. Yeah. And I remember leaving, and I felt rather good about it being over because I was tired, and it was a long day. And of course, I'm not behind the camera. I don't know what's going on. I saw Francis sitting there, over the gravestones, a real gravestone, and he was crying, literally sobbing. And I went over and I said, what's the matter, friend? He said, they won't give me another setup. He was crying about it, and I thought, this is how much it meant to him.
Yeah.
That extra setup, and for people who don't know, it can make the difference in a scene, because because he had planned it, he had storyboarded. Did you storyboard Insomnia?
Only we storyboarded some of the action scenes, but I tend to do a lot of that in my head, and I don't shot list very much either. Yeah. Because I like to see what you're going to do with it. When we get in the morning,
I see.
And we block the scene.
What about rehearsals? Since you rehearsed Memento, I know that.
Yeah, we rehearsed quite a lot.
We didn't have a chance to rehearse this one.
No.
You and I had a lot of time together when we would talk about what the script was.
Which was important.
It was important. It became our rehearsal.
Yeah.
But sometimes, if you're rehearsing, do you like to rehearse and then, if you've rehearsed the scene, then you could storyboard it? Because you've seen, say we had 3 weeks. Oh, yeah,
definitely. Yeah. No, particularly if you get the chance to rehearse in the location, which is kind of unusual. We actually, I think we made an advantage out of the pressure we were under on Insomnia, because, we didn't have a rehearsal space in weeks, to work things through, but we were doing it on site, which was kind of nice. With the evening before, we would try and just run through in the location, so we'd be in the police station or in the cabin.
That's very valuable.
And for me, that's very valuable. I know it's more pressured for the actors because you're having to really work stuff through much quicker than you ought to. But for me, it's great because I get to see you in that environment, which I never get to do.
I like the 24 hours to sleep on it. I like the night to sleep on what we just did.
And let it soak in.
It does soak in. And the next day you come and you say, gee, I think we're on the right track, but it's not comfortable here, or it does work here,
Right.
But sleep helps.
How much rehearsal do you normally get on movies?
Well, it depends on the nature of the movie. Finally, I remember Bobby De Niro once said something to me that I thought was really spectacularly right on, and that was, what's the point of rehearsing unless you know how to rehearse? and knowing how to rehearse is and a lot of people who are not experienced in rehearsing just feel, they don't know why they're doing it. They're doing this. What are we supposed to rehearse? I find that rehearsal really is, in movies, is to find a way to get to know who you're working with. So it's really getting to understand a person or feel comfortable with people that you're going to be playing with.
Right.
And there's a kind of an ease and a trust and a letting go that takes place in that process. And that's the hope that you'll finally feel closer to the people you're working with.
Right.
Because otherwise, sometimes though, otherwise, unless you have like a month to rehearse, Sidney Lumet used to put us through rehearsals, which I really appreciated while I was doing it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not doing a movie in continuity.
Yeah, which you usually are, right?
Usually are.
Usually all in the crazy
So what
order.
happens is with Lumet, he would take you through the movie every day, and you'd say, Sidney, I don't really want to go through this today. I mean, he says, no, don't, just do it. And what would happen is you would teach your body and your unconscious to see the progression of like in Serpico, for instance, with Serpico, his progression into the state he finally gets to. We would do that every day, so that arc was taking place, the feeling of things happening to you, and it eventually coming out. Because we had to start the picture with me with a full beard and a full head of hair, and go backwards anyway.
Yeah. And I wondered how different you find, theatre to film, because you, as a film actor, have an incredible awareness of where the camera is at all times and what pieces are going to be used in the edit suite. I mean, I think you knew that before I did most of the time. And you would do a lot of takes and act pieces of, each bit of dialogue, you would be acting in little pieces, knowing they're going to come together. Obviously in theatre, it must be a completely different approach.
Yes, that's the main difference, is that theatre it's a different approach. You just leave that part of your brain.
Right.
And you go into this other thing. But since I started in the theater, that was the way I started in film. And the early films I made were mainly with Lumet and Coppola, but Lumet rehearsed like a theater thing. So I never knew where the camera was. And slowly I realized as time went on that there are little things that you do learn about film acting, like you learn about any kind of thing. You learn about a camera, you learn about what it can see, you can learn about the relationship you have with it, how you can feel it on you, and where it...
Well, and there's a way you have of putting the energy to the camera.
That's right.
Instead of letting it disperse into the room, which is extraordinary. And the scene, because for me the important thing about deciding where to put the camera, about blocking, is I like to think a lot about how close the camera is to the person. And I believe that the audience on some level is aware of that distance. So there's a scene in the film where you're making a telephone call, make the telephone call to the partner's wife. And I remember when you came in to sit down to do the scene, you were pretty surprised at where the camera was, because it was pretty close to your nose on a 75. But that, to me...
I was very happy about that, I know that.
Well, I guess, and I guess it these days that's a little unusual. People tend to want to have longer lenses, cameras further away, but I think that creates a distance, and I think that you don't get that intimacy. And what I found is when we put the camera right there in your space, the performance is then exactly appropriate to somebody being that close and being so in your head.
It really helped.
Well, and it becomes quiet and, to me, very real. And I feel when I see the scene, I feel like we're getting to really be inside what you're thinking and really there, which to me was this character, you want to see the whole story through this guy's eyes. So to me, you want to try and get the camera there as much as possible.
I'm thinking as we're talking about this and thinking there is, I miss in a way, I miss my own sense of spontaneity and freedom when I could just do whatever I wanted to do in a scene and not worry about where the camera was, because it would give me But what happened is I still try to do that if I can. You know, it's a funny kind of thing. It's like an audience. You forget they're there, but you know they're there.
Right.
And the same thing with the camera. You sort of know it's there, but you forget it's there because you're dealing with what you're dealing with. But I remember doing a movie, and I did so many different things in one particular scene with my hands.
Right.
That were very revelatory in terms of what the character was doing, what the story was saying. But when it came time to see the picture, I was shot here.
Yeah.
Had I known, you know, I would have done. And I thought, and that was early on in my movie work, and I never forgot that. And I kept thinking how important that is, because it's a body language.
Yeah.
And sometimes a shot encompasses that, but if you're in here, you have to find another way.
Yeah.
To use your body language. You know,
Right.
that's the difference in the techniques. See, the stage employs all of this, your body. So it's voice too, which is because you need to project and at the same time make an audience feel as though you're not screaming.
Right.
The other is you need to express, and that's the joy of it too, to be expressing with your body.
Yeah.
But those two elements in a film are kind of not as prominent.
Right. Well, you seem, as a film actor, what I felt is that you trust your face to express what you're thinking. I don't know if that's what goes on in your head, but I felt that you have that trust of, you know, that your body, your face, everything will react and express without being forced, without, you know. And that was what was exciting for me to watch, is to be able to put the camera right up and know that we were going to get something real and true, and that's fun. But that must take a lot. I would have thought that would take a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge of how little you can do in a way.
Yeah. You finally, like all these things, you know, after 30 years, you hope that something is rubbed off, and that you get a little help from your friends.
Yeah.
And finally, that's you're sort of counting on it. And but there is, I've only discovered it recently, that there's a technique to film acting. You know, when I saw Paul Muni do Scarface, I was so inspired by it that I asked Marty Bregman, the producer, to find out about remaking it.
Right.
And it wasn't till I was so enamored with Muni's greatness in that film but the thing that helped me with it is they made him Cuban, and once they made Tony Montana Cuban and from Florida and updated it to the 80s, there was a kind of freedom. And did the original film deal with the way we approached the relationship with Robin, the kind of push-pull and irony and the kind of enjoyment of the chase, so to speak?
It did, but once again with a slightly different emphasis.
I see.
What we get into, I think the audiences in the original, you wind up, your sympathy for the protagonist is tested in different ways, whereas in our film, I think the way we've told it, you really stay with Dormer. But that's where, to me, the film becomes most interesting, is in that relationship with Walter, played by Robin Williams, because what Robin does in the film is presents the logic and the rationalization of the character in such a kind of straightforward manner that you kind of want to believe him for a while. And you know, Dormer, you know, your character is in such a state by this point, you don't quite know who to believe, and a lot of what Robin's saying makes a kind of sense, because he does it in this very straightforwardly logical manner, which, I don't know, I think it's interesting from the point of view of Robin's performance.
Yeah, there's a kind of borderline hysteria in that relationship. It's about to lose control in some way, but that's the fun part about that.
It is. I mean, it's great fun watching. I mean, there's a scene in the film where we play a lot of a scene in two shot, and it's all from the same take, actually.
Right.
You and Robin just back and forth, and it was just one of those things where you guys, in your acting, you just meshed, and the back and forth is great, and all the layers, plot-wise, that are going on. It's the kind of scene where you see the film a second time, you see different things in what you're saying to each other, which is great.
You know what? I always liked the idea of two people who would never be together, having to cope together, and I've always enjoyed that, and I enjoy it. It's like the thing in Dog Day Afternoon when the three guys go into the bank, and one guy leaves, and these two guys are left. Who don't know each other really well, and they would never know each other in any other circumstance. They just would never be together, and here they are in this intense situation, and they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And I've always found that it's a good seed for some kind of something. It combusts.
Definitely,
you know, it can combust.
Yeah, no, two fascinating characters pushed together, and to me, what's interesting is they're together privately.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, in the interrogation scene or the public face of that relationship is more understandable. But to be privately connected in that way.
I just get a tickle out of the idea of the two, Dormer and Robin together, you know. It's just not it's a match made in, I don't know, in camel heaven or something. You know, it just doesn't.
We done?
Is there anything else you want to ask me? Why do I wear black all the time?
Yeah, why do you wear black all the time?
There was a guy goes into a bar. He says, "Are you wearing black?" He says, "Why do you always wear black?" And then I bit him. There it is.
You do want to do comedy though, right? Because people definitely expect you to be...
Well, I got a comedy coming out.